Hello YouTube! Today I'm going to be going over the Bestiary. This codex is huge for your tamables, both in survivability and in damage. I include timestamps in the description if you want to just jump to the classes you need information on. Also, on screen for each trait in the Bestiary is my opinion of what works best with each trait. But back to the Bestiary. In order for you to level it, you have to have one in your backpack. It can be made for 1 MCD and 25 arcane scrolls by a 110 inscriptionist. Once in your backpack, you and your pets kill creatures and you gain XP. As you increase in XP, you get points. And once you get points, you can unlock the traits. Now, recently with the update, you can have multiple loadouts of what you want the book spec'd as. You can even rename them for the pets that it's designed for. I really like this new addition they recently made. Also, Underdog got a bonus to making lower taming pets better, but back to the point. Let's start off by talking about the tank pets. These pets are what will be taking most of the damage while you're out hunting. Make sure they are on aggressive and that they are the only aggressive pet. Now let's get into the book. Adrenaline is a huge way to keep your tank alive, especially against harder mobs, as it gives 15, 30, or 45% chance that an attack versus your tank that would kill it, instead it would make it tankier and just take 1 damage as opposed to whatever would have killed it. They get 50% more tankier. Next, you have aggression. I personally put a total of 3 points in this one for the 10% damage increase for my tank, but at 1 point you get 5%, and if you invest 6 points you get 15%. However, I personally don't view my tank as consistent DPS, that's why I only do the 3 points. It is great, however, if you are running multiple tanks to disperse the damage between them. Next is Behemoth. With this, it increases damage by 10, 20, or 30%, and damage resistance by 2, 4, or 6% if they are 3 or more control slots. Personally, I love the Grave Bugs as my main tank with its self-heals. However, if you are running a Fortress Beetle, this is a great trait option to put points into. And on running a bigger tank, if you do, I'd highly suggest running the next trait as well, which is Critical Care, which helps res chances of the tank by 33, 66, or 100%, which is good if you don't have 100 Menagerie or Vet. However, the key point in this trait for me is resing the tank with 10, 20, or 30% more HP than the typical res, which can be huge, especially if you are solo. The next trait, Deflect, is also great for soloing, especially for Dex or Tamers. It doesn't give your tank any more tankiness, however it makes you 0.75, 1.5, or 2.5 times the control slots of your tanks, and makes your non-tanks 1.5, 3, or 4.5% times your control slots more tankier on your non-tank pets. So also great with a fortress beetle and like a glass cannon pets like imps. So that's the damage. I mean, they're tankier. Also, this works well with the next trait, which is Guardian, which redirects 3, 6, or 9 times control slots of damage taken by non-tank followers and is redirected to the tank. And 1.53 or 4.5 times control slots of damage inflicted on you, the tamer, is also redirected to your tank pets. So this is redirection of the damage. The previous one was just damage reduction. Both good to have when running either multiple tanks or multiple control slot tanks. Next, Hearty is another one for running multiple tanks or need to pad your tank's damage with 10, 20, 30% damage increase if over 75% HP. This is also great for the sustained pets like grave bugs because they heal themselves. Next is my bread and butter. I always max it first, Mending. It increases healing by 12, 24, or 36% and cure chances by 20, 40, 60%. And if they are not poisoned and at maxed HP, they get a damage increase of 4, 8, or 12%. But damage isn't really the reason I take this, it's that bonus healing. Next is Stalwart, which increases damage resistance by 3, 6, 9%, but also has a 25, 50, 70% chance to ignore any movement debuffs. This helps keep your tank mobile to pick up aggro if need be. I only ever drop 1 point in it though. That way you get the extra damage resistance while also getting that 25% chance, but I don't personally feel the need for anything over 25%. Next, also always max with survival. Increase damage resistance by 4, 8, 12%. Next is tolerance, which I also always drop just 1 point into tolerance, as it has a 11, 22, or 30% chance to ignore any poison, disease, or bleed tick, and has an increased 1.3, 2.6 for damage resistance when not under those effects. And lastly, for tanks, we have Trample, which is a cleave of max damage times 8, 16, 24% to random mobs within 1 tile. This is great for boss fights, so that you can cleave the adds and they won't overrun your entire party. And that's it for the tank section. Next, the utility class section. These are the debuffers, poisoners, diseasers, and hexers. These either increase damage potential or increase damage output of other mobs. We start off with Beast Sting, which is if your pet can inflict poison or disease, has a 10, 20, 30% chance damage increase on melee attacks, 4, 8, 12% if they cannot inflict poison or disease. Next is Breaker, which is easy. It just ignores 22, 44, or 66% of target's magic, resist, or armor. Only applies to your utility pets though, so keep that in mind. Next is Carrion, which makes attacks that a diseaser creature can inflict have a 10, 20, or 30% chance to restore 25, 4.5% max health every 15 seconds. And if they can't inflict disease, then 4, 8, 12 damage increase. Percent damage increase. Next is Contagion, which feeds off the last one, Carrion, with 33, 66, 100% damage increase on disease effects. And the same 4, 8, 12 damage increase if they can't inflict disease. Now, if you combine those two and Debilitate, you can run as disease or poisoner. Just skip Carrion utility as a tank, because Debilitate applies a stackable damage penalty against Tamer and followers by 1, 2, 3% for each utility stable slot that can apply poison or disease effect, as well as if they can't inflict disease or poison, they get a 4, 8, 12% damage increase. This is also helpful if you are leveling a tank up to level 10, because since they aren't tanky yet, you can use the utility part here to make them tankier. Next is basically just for Cavern and mobs. Frostbite increases chill ability by 15, 30, 45% and increases amount of chilled effect applied by 33, 66, or 100% of normal. And again, if they can't cause a chill effect, they have a 4, 8, 12% damage increase. Then we have Metabolism, which is so great because it gives your utility pets a chance to, on a successful attack, heal for 0.66, 1.33, or 2% max health. Means a lot less pet healing if they are at, and if they are at max health, they have 4, 8, 12% damage increase. Then Opportunity, which if they have inflicted a hinder or entangled effect, they get a 20, 40, or 60% damage increase, and then the 4, 8, 12% if they can't inflict a hinder or entangle. Next, we have Punishment, which if they have a Hex or Pierce effect on them and then it expires, then they take max damage times 0.5, 1.5, which ignores armor. And again, 4, 8, 12% damage bonus if they can't inflict those effects. Next is Scour, which if they apply a weaken or cripple effect, the Tamer receives a 1.5, 3, or 4.5% damage bonus that is stackable. Damage dealt increased by 4, 8, 12% if creature cannot inflict those effects. Next is great for utility pets that have cooldowns, like which is Swoop, and it increases the next attack or spell cast within the next 10 seconds by 33, 66, or 100%, and again 4, 8, 12% damage increase if no cooldown abilities are available on your pet. And finally, for utility pets is Toxic. When the mob is poisoned or diseased, they have a stackable 1, 2, 3 damage debuff for Tamer per control slot of utility pets that can inflict those effects. So a Swamp Dragon, if they applied a poison at max Toxic, which is 9% damage specifically from the tamer increased. And if they cannot apply a poison or disease, then they have the 4, 8, 12 damage increase. Lastly, we have the attack class. These are your higher DPS pets. And the first ability is amazing for backstabbers. I mean, it's even called ambush. Damage dealt increased by 10, 20, 30%, and damage resistance increased by 5, 10, 15% right after exiting stealth. Damage dealt increased by 4, 8, 12% if stealth cannot happen. Then we have feral, which if the pet can go enraged or frenzied, then the next non-backstab attack every 15 seconds will be increased by 80, 160, or 240%. And then if they cannot frenzy or enrage, they get the flat 4, 8, 12% as usual. Then is cornered, which is great for melee pets. It increases damage by 10, 20, 30% if it has taken damage from a mob in the last 10 seconds. And then if it hasn't taken any damage, you get the flat 4, 8, 12% damage increase. Then we have feed, which is great to sustain your pets. If your pet has a bleed, that is. It has a 10, 20, 30% chance to restore 10% max HP every 15 seconds. And again, 4, 8, 12% increase on pets that cannot inflict bleeds. Then we have another great one for Dexter Tamers, which is Hunting Party. And it increases damage dealt by 10, 20, 30% if creature and tamer are both within 1 tile of the mob. Then the flat 4, 8, 12% damage increase if they aren't. Then Immolate increases Flame Strike and Spell Burn abilities by 50, 100, 150%. And then the flat 4, 8, 12 damage increase if they don't have those abilities. This then is Lethality, which means the attacks and spells of your attack class pets have a 10, 20, 30% chance to inflict plus 100 damage, otherwise will inflict the 4, 8, 12% damage increase. And there's no cooldown listed on this one, so I definitely drop points into this because that 30% chance to increase damage by 100% is amazing. The next one is for the swarm people out there who want a lot of 1-slot pets. Menagerie, which increases damage dealt by 2, 4, 6 times the different types of creatures controlled, and the healing amounts increased by 2, 4, 6% times the different number of creatures controlled. So if you used 5 different types of creatures, you'd get a bonus of 10, 20, 30%. Then you have Mutation, which reduces the cooldown on your pets' cooldown abilities by 2, 4, and 6 seconds. Then if they don't have a cooldown ability, they get the flat 4, 8, 12% damage increase. Next is Pelt, which is for your ranged attack class pets. If the target is 4 or more tiles away, damage is increased by 8, 16, 24%, and if closer, it's increased by 4, 8, 12%, so half as much. Then Primal, which increases chance to trigger passive by 3, 33, 66, 100% of normal. So for like diseases at 15% normal, your pet would have a 19.95, 24.9, or 33 chance instead to inflict that poison. And then if they have no passive, they get the flat 4, 8, 12% damage increase. Then finally, Swarm, another good one for the multiple pet tamers. It increases damage dealt by 2, 4, 6% times total followers controlled by player, and the healing by 4 times total followers controlled. So you could get your 10, 20, 30% damage increase here. However, this one, unlike Menagerie, does not increase the healing per rank. Just the 1 point gets you the flat 4% times the follower control. Just to keep that in mind. Thank you for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed the content. If you did, please drop a like below, subscribe for more of me, and comment if you have any questions, comments, or concerns. Have a great rest of your day.